Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm doing my list of my top 10 players at Masters Toronto, but it's actually going to be top 15 because there were too many players at this event that I wanted to include in this list. It was like more than 20 different guys. So I decided to add an extra 5 on so I could kind of include more of those players, but we will speed through 11 through 15 as to not like take up a ton of time doing that and kind of spend most of the time on the top 10 that this video is kind of centered around and just will make a better title. So if you guys enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Really helps me out. Trying to get up to like 1,500 subscribers before the off season, where I do the best series on this channel every year, both in terms of my enjoyment, how good I think the videos are, and how well the videos perform. That's my rebuild series at the end of the year, where I kind of go through every team and make the roster changes that I think need to be made on every team. So if you're interested in that, stick around until that time of the year. We'll probably have a few coming out before champs, but the majority of them will come out afterwards. Um, yeah. Also, go follow me on Twitter. I do like weekly player rankings on there throughout the season. I'll probably put one out before Toronto starts, and by the time this video is uploaded, maybe it'll already be out for America's EMEA and Pacific. Um, but if you're interested in that, you can go check out my Twitter. I also tweet about pretty much all the VCT news coming out uh, as it comes out. Pretty much, like I'll see it. I'll give my thoughts on it. Whatever. If you want like live reactions and stuff, go check that out. Wow, I can't talk. Also, I've been live streaming a lot more lately, both on YouTube on this channel and on Twitch. If you're more interested in watching on Twitch, you can go follow me. Link is in the description as well. But yeah, with that, I think we're ready to get into the video now. I swear I had more to say, but I don't. So we'll start with the criteria for this list and why I have certain players on here and maybe why certain players are off the list. So this list is entirely based on how good the player will be at this event, not how good they were during stage one, even though that will be heavily taken into account in terms of my expectations for how good they will be at the event. That's not necessarily how good that's not necessarily all I'm ranking it based off of. And also not necessarily how good they'll be maybe past this event. And this will be heavily taking into account how deep the player's team will go, just because that kind of affects the perception of how good a player is. Like outside of maybe Nats on Liquid, like there's like an occasional player that is extremely good on a team that doesn't go super far at an event like Nats on Liquid at Bangkok. But the majority of your players that are top players at the event are like your meteors of what's it called? Of Bangkok, your Izus of Bangkok, like stuff like that, where the top players on the top team are usually the top players at that event. And I'm also not really taking any IGLing or calling into account for this list. It's purely their individual skill because I do think like taking into a player's like calling and like their use in terms of outside of the game stuff, or maybe like just outside of like your individual like playing the game stuff is kind of hard to quantify. So I kind of just leave that out just to make these lists simpler. So to start with my players 11 through 15, I'll start with Devi. He is one of two Paper X players on this list, I believe. It's him and then one more who is in the top 10. Uh, I thought like throughout the regular season, like the majority of the time, I thought he was pretty bad for this team. Like I really thought he was going to get replaced. But his form when the train started was incredible. Like he was back to like peak Devi, like uh Masters Tokyo to Devi, like that kind of level from him. And if he keeps that up into this event, I think he should be one of these top 15 players. Maybe get Paper X to go fairly deep, because I do think they have potential to do so. But entirely depends on really the rest of the team because I do think he is the rock for that team. Then Rien's, I think he could be higher on this list. Like I think he's really, really good, but I think there's other players on his team specifically that I would have higher than him. Now that I'm looking at this, I might actually swap him and Benji, even though Benji's form was incredible towards the end of the split. I'll just talk about these two. I'll skip over Texture. I'll go back to him, but overall, like Benji and Rienz are extremely good players. Benji kind of had a more of a rough start to the split, where he was not great at kickoff either. Like he was legit bad at kickoff. Heading into the like first part of the stage, he was kind of week to week improving, and then towards the end of playoffs, he looked unbelievably good. Him and Rienz are just a really nice duo, and there's still more Heretics players on this list to come, as you would probably expect. Then at 11, I have Ospas, which is kind of. Oh, wait. Wow. I completely skipped over Texture. I didn't even go back to him. But yeah, 13, we have Texture. I just think he's Texture. Like, he's just really good. One of the top duelists in Pacific. Not the top duelist, but I do think he is very good and probably the best opper in the world. Definitely the best opper at this event, in my opinion. But just up there for best duelist in the world, and I think he's very good. And then 11, I have Ospas, who might be confusing to some people, but with the criteria I talked about, just missed out on this top 10 just because I don't think MIBR is going to go super deep necessarily, and I do have some concerns on, like, maybe not Ospas necessarily. Like, he plays more of a selfless style with this MIBR team, and I don't think he'll perform as great, especially if MIBR as a team is not necessarily performing at this event. Now, they could, but I would favor a lot of other teams over MIBR and Ospas. Starting at number 10 now for my actual top 10 list. I'm starting with Kayak, who I think, like, I was very much not expecting to have on this list heading into playoffs, but with how he performed, I think it was something like 20 straight maps of going positive or something like that. Like, insane, especially his performance in that final against Heretics. Maybe this is a little bit recency bias because of that. I also considered maybe dropping him down into that like top 15 area because of his nerves, or because of potential nerves at his first international event. But he's also played for Apex during Ascension. Now, he did look a little nervous during that, but he's got experience now at that like highest of high pressure in an Ascension final. So I think I don't really have too many concerns about him in that scenario quite yet. But I think he is incredible. The mechanics, the opping specifically, like I think he's the other guy that is potentially one of the best oppers, if not the best opper in the world behind Texture. Um, but I would prefer Texture over him. But he was the, like, don't want to say the main reason, because I do think Boaster's IGLing is really good on this team, but his ability to just take over games, uh, especially these last two games against Heretics, was incredible. He was also a big reason why they were able to beat Liquid, just fragging the hell out every single game. Like, I really don't have much to say other than this kid's aim is incredible, and he does make quite good decisions. Like, there's not as much trolling as you would see from some other teams' duelists, like maybe Camo does on Team Liquid every now and then. Um, just looking at this EMEA bracket, or like guys like Levin, who don't necessarily always make the best decisions, but are also extremely mechanically talented. Like, Kayak does make those good decisions, and I think Fnatic's done a really good job of developing him. And yeah, he's just extremely good. Then at number 9, I have Leaf. Just a player that ever since switching to Sentinel, I have been very high on. Um, I mean, he's a great anchor player. I mean, he doesn't even do that much anchoring, honestly. He just plays G2's weak side every time. They get a bunch of pressure on the strong side, then he fucking pushes up on the weak side, takes a bunch of space, kills somebody on the flank, runs all the way back to the site he's playing. And I'm specifically remembering him playing Viper on Lotus, but he's also very good at absorbing pressure on that defensive side. His lurks on the attack side are incredible. His mechanics are really good at being a former duelist player. And he was very good at Bangkok for this team. He wasn't incredible by any means. I think I probably would have him higher had he been one of the best players at Bangkok. He was still very good, and I still think he will be very good at this event, but that finals performance wasn't great, and his performance in some high-pressure scenarios for other teams like C9 specifically hasn't always been the best. So I'd like to see him prove that at this event. That's why I have him at number 9, maybe not a little bit higher. Um, but yeah, he is very, very good. Then at number 8, I have Woot, who, again, another player that I might not have expected to have in this top 10 at the beginning of the stage. I mean, even like Kayak was heading into playoffs. Woot was like a heading into heading into like week 3. He was really not performing for this team to start the stage. I didn't think. I was very disappointed in how he had been playing all year, honestly. Okay, I thought there was something on the screen that just wasn't supposed to be there, but apparently it's not. I'm just seeing things. But playing that secondary duelist for this team behind Miniboo, pretty much every map outside of maybe a couple, like Icebox, he played Teo, now he's playing Gecko. Incredible at both of those agents as well. Um, let's see, what else does he play? He played Teo on Fracture for this team, which wasn't very good. At least the Fracture part. The Teo part I didn't think was necessarily that bad, even though his individual stats weren't very good. But he's a very flexible player, can play a lot of Flash Initiator stuff for this team, even though he doesn't play as much of it anymore, but can also play most of the duelists for this team in terms of the Jet, Raze, ISO. I think you probably play Neon to a decent level as well, but you just want Miniboo on that agent most of the time. I do have some concerns on whether or not, if they switch up their comps, play a little less the double duelist, how he'll individually perform. And just that beginning of the stage is a little bit concerning to me as well. I'm not the biggest fan of Woot, but I don't think he's a bad player by any means. Obviously, being number 8 on this list filled with unbelievably good talent, I think pretty much everything from 4 to 15 can be swapped interchangeably, and I wouldn't really be that mad on this list. So he could be your number 4 player, and I wouldn't be super shocked. There's really not much of a gap. I just kind of favored some other guys over him, mainly because of that like comp issue and maybe not being quite as elite on some of these other like Flash Initiator agents, even though his Gecko is very, very good. Then at number 7, I have Bang, which this could be a decent surprise for some people. But I've been very, very high on Bang pretty much every international event he's played. I had him in my top 10 list for Masters, whatever the 100 Thieves made last year was. Um, oh my god, Shanghai? Yeah, it was Shanghai. And he performed decently well at that. Or, no, he was very good at that event for them. Had some very, very big clutch moments. And just as he's done for Sentinels this year, has had some very big clutch moments. I don't think his kickoff was like as elite, but I think he was the best smokes player in Americas throughout stage 1. Like from week 1 to the end of the playoffs, I think he was the best smokes player in all of Americas and even quite possibly the world. I think that's not that crazy to say. Obviously, saying that he is currently the best smokes player in the world and that I would favor him over guys like if I would pick him over Mako, that's kind of crazy. But I do think he's kind of getting into that territory as a player. Kind of playing a little bit more loose on the Sentinels team. It always felt like he was kind of a little bit nervous all the time on 100 Thieves. Sentinels, I feel like after kickoff in Bangkok, that pressure's kind of gone away for him. And he's been able to be a very, very clutch player and very, very good anchor player for this team. Like, I think he's probably one of the best anchor players at this event, and is very good. I don't really have any concerns about him in a different meta because it will just be Omen and the occasional Viper for him. Maybe a little bit of Astra as well on Pearl, depending on what this team does. But I think he's a big reason why Sentinels works as a team. He's a great playmaker along Zekken, and we'll talk about Zekken a little bit later. Then at number 6, to round off the Heretics players in this list, I have Miniboo. I think some people would end up having Woot higher than Miniboo, and I think that's pretty reasonable. But Miniboo, I believe, was one of the best statistical performers in the whole world. Up there for EMEA, yeah, top 3 in ACS. just behind Martine and Kayak. Obviously, Martine, fucking polar bear in Arlington, Texas, right there. But he's been very, very good, kind of a rejuvenated player after having a very, very good start to last year and then kind of coming into um, stage one and beyond and kind of being more of a selfless entry player. Now he's kind of being more set up with a bunch of util and kind of thing rather than him running in to set his teammates up and stuff like that. And his stats and his individual form have just flourished with that. Like he is so much more confident, goes in for so many more just like aggressive plays on the Neon. His Neon on Icebox is one of the best I've seen. Obviously, you rarely see Neon on Icebox, but like just the Neon in general kind of stuff is very, very good from him. Um, I don't really have too many concerns. Obviously, once when this team starts losing, it's kind of when he doesn't perform his best, which is not great. Um, but when this team's winning, he is one of the best players in the world, and I think this team will win quite a bit at this event. Um, but yeah, I don't like honestly. I think just a lot of his form is to do with him being set up. Now, if this new meta comes in and he's not set up as heavily, and he's more of playing that selfless entry kind of player, then I do have some concerns about this placement on this list. I would still have him in the top 15 regardless, but maybe not like top 6 like he is right now. If he does end up kind of leaning into that style. If he stays like he's been playing, I think he'll be easily one of the top 10, if not top 6 players at this event. Now at number 5, I have Forsaken, which okay, what? Why did it do that? Why did it wait and to do this until I clicked? But the one true flex player that can pretty much play anything for a team. You want him to fill in on some Omen on a map, play a single controller, he can do that. You want him to play Scan Initiator, he can do that. You want him to play Sentinel, he can do that. You want him to play Duelist, he can do that. Like, the only role that I have concerns about this guy on is Flash Initiator, and even then, he's kind of played that a little bit before and been pretty decent on it in terms of the utility at least. The fragging, not so much on those roles. But on these 4 roles that he's played, his fragging is incredible. He has, I don't want to say solo carried some games for Paper Rex, but is just extremely good individually and has been frying for this team this split. I think he's a big reason why this team is kind of coming back to form, his individual form kind of coming back and just being really good. Now, I talked about Devi earlier in saying that he could lead Paper X deep in this tournament. I do believe that Paper X could go deep in this tournament. I'm not sure exactly how deep they will go, but if they do go deep, Forsaken will be a big reason for that. That's why I have him this high. It's kind of hedging my bets a little bit because I do think he's incredible, but maybe some of the Heretics players could go over him based on my criteria. Maybe some, like, I just literally forgot. Like a Bang could go over him if Sentinels go deep. Leaf could go over him if G2 go deep. Like literally any of these guys could go over Forsaken if any of them go deep. But I just have him here because he's incredible. Paper Rex could be really, really good at this event. I don't know. But I'm gonna hedge my bets and have him pretty high on this list, even though I'm not the biggest believer in Paper X. But he has been my favorite player on Paper X for a long time, pretty much ever since he transitioned to this role of playing all this different all these different agents. Jesus, not this different agents. And just kind of being that, as I said, one true flex player that is good on pretty much anything. Now, at number 4 and my number 1 Pacific player, I have Jemkin. Now, this might be a little bit low for some people, but this also could be high for some people. I think this is kind of that perfect middle ground where I think RRQ will do good at this tournament. Maybe not great, but good. And I mean, yeah, I don't even know how to like classify how good Jemkin has been because I think out of all of the players on this list, he has been the best in terms of just how well he is playing for his team during stage one. I think he has been the best, maybe outside of Zekin, who I guess that does spoil it. I'll just say Zekin is my number one player. Like it's those two, maybe Trent, maybe Nats, who I mean, I guess yeah, those are my top three, which I think I would just say are not interchangeable with the rest of this list. But I think those teams will do better at this event, and Nats is kind of a different role in terms of what he's doing than Jemkin. But Jemkin just I don't know how to classify how well he's done because he is just so unbelievably good. He just literally like it feels like he hits every shot. Like somebody peeks him, like he's holding Mound on Yoru, on Lotus, on C, and on defense, and somebody just fucking peeks him. He one taps the guy, TP's away, and is perfectly fine. Now, my only real concern with Jemkin is sometimes he overstays his welcome and sometimes tries to force stuff a little bit. But that's because he is by far the best player, or has been by far the best player in Pacific in just in my opinion. Um, and is able to force stuff sometimes and just own people. Um, he also has had like a game where he wasn't super great, and that was that upper final against Genji, which RRQ did lose. But I think the main reason that Genji is not in this top, or not Genji, that Jemkin is not in this top three is mainly just because the team he's on, I feel pretty confident is not going to win the event. I think these top three players do have all a good chance of winning the event. RRQ, I wouldn't necessarily put in that bucket. They have a chance. I do think it's possible, but I don't think that they're in that inner ring of teams. Now Nats, I have at number 3. Um, I also think he's maybe slightly outside that ring on Liquid. Like I will say, I think Liquid will do worse at this tournament than RRQ will, and I think they have been worse than RRQ have been throughout stage one. Not that much worse. I still think they're a good team, obviously, because I have Nats this high. But we'll talk about Nats. I don't really want to talk about Liquid that much. Um, it's kind of hard to talk about Nats without talking about the out of game stuff that I said I wasn't taking into account because he's just been so unbelievably good at that. Like, I mean, I literally just quote tweeted a clip of him talking before their game against BBL, just giving a full speech. I think it was after BBL won map 1, um, where he's just like, I would run through a brick wall for this guy, just straight up. That's really all I have to say. But just in terms of an anchor player, just playing around his own utility and even around the other team's utility, he is the best in the world at that, and it's not remotely close. Um, just watch him, like specifically on Fracture, I think you notice it the most, even though that's not going to be at this event. Sadly, you get to see, like, just on that map, just watch him play Vise, how he plays around Kiko smokes for him on site is just unbelievable. He's a menace with the shorty, and just in a pinch, in a spot, in a clutch, anything like that. He is so good. He's really good at calling around his utility as well. Again, not taking that into account, but he is just it's really hard to quantify how good this guy is. He's in the conversation for being the best player in the world while IGLing. But man, maybe you'll say that this is taking the IGLing into account just with how this conversation is centered around Nats, which I think is perfectly fair. Um, but he would be the one guy where I would bias it a little bit more towards IGLing, I think. Just because he is doing it and still performing at this level and still performing as an IGL and a leader. Like you can see how he is doing as a leader with all these voice comm clips and stuff like that EMEA is putting out and Liquid is putting out. So it is easy to quantify that and maybe does skew where I think Nats is as a player. But I mean, if you just watch him, he is incredible just in the server. And that's it. Like, that's just straight up it. Then at number 2, I had Trent, my mid-season MVP pick. If you guys watched that video, I picked him just. I did a video just doing mid-season awards. He has been my MVP so far. I think G2's been the best team. I think they will be the best team at this event. kind of spoiling my power rankings. I might put this out after my power rankings, even though I'm recording this like well before I'm going to record the power rankings. I just think Trent is unbelievable. Um, I really I don't have much else to say. Like I don't have concerns about whether or not he'll be good on the Teo. Now I think stuff like his clutch ability has been kind of propped up a little bit by having the Teo rockets and being able to be that, like, I don't want to say baiter during post plant scenarios, but that kind of is what he does for G2. Um, just one of the best clutch players in the world, just in general, even. But I think even without Teo, he'll still be one of the best players at this event, the best initiator in the world, um, and kind of continue that like dominance, that like near perfection level that I think maybe Leo was at, maybe or trending towards while he was playing. I think Trent could get to that spot during this event, especially if G2 is able to close the finals out and win if they make it there. Obviously, uh, they were unable to do that at Bangkok. I think if they're able to do it this time, a large part of that will be due to Trent, especially like he wasn't playing 100% Teo during kickoff in Bangkok, and he was still elite at that event. So I'm not concerned about his ability to be able to play Sova where he was frying at the beginning of the year with that Pearl comp and everything like that. So yeah, he's just very, very good, and I don't really have concerns about the Teo stuff that all the cringe silver players that type in the YouTube chat really just think he's bad for, which he just isn't. Then at number one, we have Zekken. Pretty self-explanatory here. Like, I like talking about the players more once I get to the top of the list, but really there's nothing to say that hasn't been said already about Zekken. He is just the best duelist player in the world. He is the most, I mean, he is the other guy that I would say is a true flex player as well, because in the past he's played some of this like initiator stuff. I think he could play, like, maybe not the smokes, but like I think he could play Sentinel to a high level as well. His read on the game is just really good. um, I thought he was incredible at kickoff. A lot of people thought he was not performing to his best level. Bangkok, I would agree that he wasn't performing that great, but all of stage one, he has just been unbelievably good for Sentinels. Just, it feels like literally every game, even when they lose, he has some clip that is just jaw-droppingly good. Um, let's see, how many aces did he have during stage one? Just, I know that's not the best way to quantify a player, and I fully agree with that. But when a player does as consistently as Zekken, you gotta acknowledge it. Two, um, three against C9, none against Loud. Don't think he had one against EG. No, he had one against Crew. Yep, that's four. Did he have one against 100 Thieves? Yes, he had 5 aces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games. He played 9 games and had 5 aces, which is insane. And he was putting up some of the best stats of any player. I do think I don't really lean into stats that much in terms of like evaluating players and stuff like that. But in terms of this list, it kind of is what ends up being the top stats players at an event. But Zekken's a great entry player, insane mechanics, can clutch on the duelist role, plays the Omen for this team on Icebox, which he's really good at, and is just overall amazing. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I can't press, wait, no, I can press this key now. Yes. Okay, awesome. So we'll go back through my list of my top 15 players. You have Devi, Rienz, Texture, Benji, Ospas, then Kayak, Leaf, Woot, Bang, Miniboo, Forsaken. There you go. I had to click it a few times. Jemkin, Nats, Trent, and Zekken for my top 15 players. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Give me your list of your top 10, your top 15, even if you want to do it top 20 in the comments below. Really curious what you guys think. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.